We meet Sergey Petrovichev just half an hour before his operation at a hospital in Dnipropetrovsk. He's pale and half asleep from the anaesthetic. A month ago, fighting in East Ukraine, he got caught on a tripwire, causing serious damage to his legs. He's a member of one of the battalions working alongside Ukrainian government troops to fight Russian-backed insurgents. But unlike most of his comrades, who are Ukrainian, he is Russian. He says, if before I was injured my biggest problem was the threat of deportation, well now that doesn't matter. I don't have a Ukrainian passport or a Russian passport, so going anywhere to get treatment is going to be difficult. Sergey is among about 1,000 foreigners fighting in East Ukraine on the side of the Ukrainian government. Within that group, he is one of about 200 men from Russia or Belarus who cannot go home because if they do, they'll be sent to prison. A year ago, the Ukrainian government promised to make men like Sergey Ukrainian citizens, but so far only 2 fighters have received that status. The rest are in Ukraine illegally. Such is the case with Artyom. A Russian from Samara, he left his job as a barman at home and came to Ukraine when the conflict with the Kremlin's proxy forces began in the spring of 2014. He's in Kiev to visit his fiancée, a volunteer helping in the war effort. He says, at work I watched the news. I saw what was going on in Ukraine and I understood that I need to come here. I took an advance on my wages and set off the very next day. Since then, he's been a member of the Azov battalion in a reconnaissance detachment, but was recently injured. Slowly, he's learning the Ukrainian language and almost considers himself Ukrainian. But getting Ukrainian citizenship, he says, is harder than fighting Russian-backed insurgents in the east. He tells us more than 20 of us have given in our documents. They've been approved personally by Ukrainian President Poroshenko. They have the signature and personal approval from Interior Minister Arsen Avakov. The Migration Service has approved them, and now the security services are making inquiries. They certainly aren't in a hurry to do anything. As a foreigner, Artyom is not allowed to be in Ukraine for more than 90 days at a time. But that deadline has long since passed. Not only that, but he's supposed to go home to get documents confirming his rejection of Russian citizenship. But crossing into Russia now means for him signing up for a jail term. He says, Russia has given my name to Interpol. They're looking for me, saying I'm a mercenary fighting in the Donbass. They've written all kinds of lies about me. Artyom's parents have died, and his other relatives in Russia have disowned him for their own safety. When he's not on the front line in East Ukraine, this flat with his fiancée and her mother is his refuge. One man trying to help Artyom and others in his position is Pavel Kashar. He's now an MP, but was at one time a volunteer in East Ukraine. He's been pushing legislation which would simplify the process for foreign fighters to get Ukrainian citizenship. He says these people deserve to get Ukrainian passports. They've taken up arms on the front line for our country. Ukraine's parliament approved the new laws earlier this month, but they're still waiting for a signature from President Petro Poroshenko. The country's immigration service, meanwhile, says it will be at least 3 months before anything can be done. Outside the presidential administration, foreign fighters organized a protest under the yellow and blue flag of Ukraine. Artyom is one of the organizers. He says, because of my pro-Ukrainian stance, I stand here today without citizenship and without any status. But there is one success story. Ilya Bogdanov from Vladivostok in Russia's Far East has received Ukrainian citizenship after a number of volunteers and MPs intervened on his behalf. President Poroshenko signed a separate decree relating specifically to his case. As for the other foreign fighters here, they'll have to keep petitioning the government for themselves. Ilya says there are 200 of us. It's a small group and it's not growing. The problem could be solved with just one presidential decree. Meanwhile, back in Dnipropetrovsk, Sergey's operation is coming to an end. He's had the best doctors. They had to amputate one of his legs. For him, that's the cost of fighting in Ukraine. And for many, it's a price more than worthy of a Ukrainian passport.